tons of people outside again because of the nice weather. Actually makes me wonder how beaches and stuff are like. Although speaking of beaches, I guess one story I read today that was kind of interesting and related to that one, remember where the police were using drones flying around those nude beaches and essentially accusing someone of being topless where they claimed they weren't, and their evidence was the drone. So there was kind of a follow-up story to this because there was a lot of backlash to that, and I guess they were saying they're justified in using the drone and how they use it. So here was the official press release of it. It says, on the evening of Friday, July 10th, the Golden Valley Police Department and the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board Police Department responded to complaints of potentially unsafe conditions and illegal activity at an unauthorized beach at Theodore Wirth Park. The city of Golden Valley received feedback and criticism about its actions, including the decision to take enforcement action, officer interactions with the beachgoers, and the use of drone surveillance. So ultimately they're saying that area gets like a lot of complaints and crimes that take place there, so it's basically like one of those routine monitoring or whatever. And the big question mark about flying a drone in a place where people are known to be, I guess, nude. It says, it seems inappropriate to allow officers to collect footage of nudity. Drone footage is accessible only to a very few staff within the department and is only used for documentation, evidence collection, and prosecution if needed. Police staff are trained in data privacy and maintaining confidentiality. By law, people in the public spaces have no expectation of privacy from being recorded by security devices. So it's that argument where, generally speaking, it is true, I guess you could say, but it is like a little odd where many times people use this, like government officials saying, oh, a recreational guy shouldn't be able to use their drone, even though they don't spy on people for the most part, they just capture scenery, yet it's actually government officials doing it. And I even wonder at that time too, okay, if you have footage of it, why didn't you just show it to them saying, here, we have you on film or whatever, like you broke the law and so forth? It says, what happens to the data collected from a drone? The city deletes drone data as soon as possible and does not retain it longer than 7 days, unless it is part of an active criminal investigation. Wouldn't they have to keep the footage for a long time in this case, because that's their main evidence against, I guess, this person? I know there were a lot of places that are really against police officers using drones, I guess, even though it does make sense in many ways. For example, if you're allowed to fly there with a helicopter, then technically the drone should be okay too. I mean, there's no difference. The camera and the helicopter is probably a lot more powerful and all that. I don't think these are the type of things that people are thinking when they originally thought, okay, police using drones, because even if you look back in history, like from the same department, it's kind of interesting. Like it says here, city hopes to boost drone usage after receiving FAA certificate. Golden Valley recently became one of the very few cities in Minnesota to have a certificate of waiver or authorization for using drones, thus authorizing the expansion of drone usage in the city. The COA was issued to the Golden Valley Police Department by the Federal Aviation Administration. Now keep in mind, this is back in 2019 in October, and it says, the goal is to train more city employees so drones can be used in other areas of operation, like spotting rust on top of the water tower, identifying flooding in local waterways, performing search and rescue, and assisting in the process of extinguishing structure fires. I mean, to me, that would make sense, like we're using the drone and so forth, whereas I don't think this is what people would imagine, them going around like beaches or whatever, seeing if people are topless and so forth. In one end, I think it's true, like when you talk about things like the privacy in a public space, I mean, everything should be treated the same for the most part, like a camera and all that. It's more about how people use it, but at the same time, it's one of those things where I think even like the general overall public, they attack the wrong people. Like you go after like what? Like a recreational flyer that's just flying it, capturing like the scenery, literally. But then there's people like this, like let's say official departments using it to quote like spy on people. And now everyone thinks everyone that's flying like even like a toy drone or something like that is like spying on them. There's just too much double standard like with the tech there, which makes me wonder if it's all about safety, because here it makes me wonder, what, were you flying like over, near people, whatever, with the same exact type of drone that a consumer uses and all that? And the other thing I read today, which was kind of interesting, it dealt with this video game. It's called Gamer Girl, and they released a trailer of it that got a lot of people mad because it seems like what the topic revolves around is a female who does video streaming on things like Twitch, for example. Like they stream themselves playing like a video game, they interact with people, and usually they get things like, I don't know, donations and stuff like that, and that's how they make a living out of it. So this game is apparently FMV, which is a full motion video. It's kind of like an interactive movie. You essentially watch a scene, and then from there you choose what do you want the person to do this or do that, and what you click on, it'll play like a different movie scene. And you are essentially, I guess, the moderator in this game to determine what this person should do in their life. And from what I gather on the trailer, it seemed like it's a person dealing with things like, I don't know, troll comments from users, a boyfriend or something like that that's harassing her for streaming over and over again. But at the same time, it seems very like sexualized by the way it's presented, which got people really mad. It's like one of those, you're trying to make a profit out of this. So because of the backlash, there was actually companies that were removing like the trailer and stuff like that, and the developer actually responded, which kind of gives you, I guess, a different perspective to make you wonder, is it actually alright, or would you still say it's bad? So the developer released like all this statement, like it says here, Gamer Girl is about the impact of user comments and actions have on streamers' mental health and well-being. The reason why FMV Future created the game was to raise the issue of toxic environment, which can often appear online behind the anonymity of a username. Without giving away too much, Gamer Girl is an empowering story of a female streamer who, with the help of her moderator friend, battles the trolls and overcomes the toxic characters in her stream. Gamer Girl was co-written by Alexandra Burton, the lead actress who improvised the entire script. The research into the streaming content of Gamer Girl took 4 years, and the dev team at FMV Future interviewed dozens of female streamers, most whom have experienced abuse of various kinds online. Some have even shared their experiences during the interviews within the game. Players start the game as one of Abby's friend whom she trusts, and it is their job to make the channel a success, but also to guide the stream to keep Abby in a positive frame of mind. Online abuse is real and is still happening every day. Gamer Girl seeks to raise awareness of this issue. If that is the case, I'm just thinking how bad that video edit was, because again, it just came across like so, I guess, very sexualized in that way, kind of like how it is in many cases. And it reminds me of kind of like if people were around YouTube long enough during those times where they had things like these reply girls, where it's literally like some girls were replying to these popular videos, which kind of at the time, your video would come up like right next to that popular video, and it's just girls with cameras showing off like their chests and all that, like really close up in the screen, obviously to get attention, and it worked. Like that's what it reminded me of in many ways, like in terms of this, I guess, video, the way it was edited. So it's such a tricky topic because I know for a fact there's tons of like, for example, like in these cases where females would stream like, for example, games or whatever, like in a very, again, sexualized way because they know that's what's gonna get them money and all that. Whereas I know at the same time they do get harassed, like for example, let's just say from a male, just by making like inappropriate comments and all that. But which one's the worst, I guess? And is this topic, I guess, too lopsided, I guess you could say, in terms of the theme, which is why I would imagine most people are upset about it. I'm almost inclined to say they didn't call it Gamer Girl and something else more general. If it is about online abuse and all that, then that would be a little different. But I guess that's the ironic thing, where they know that gets more attention in general, like in the online gaming community and stuff like that. And if you don't play video games, just try to imagine it in any other field. Like people often say there's not enough, I guess, females in things like tech and all that. So what happens if they called it female that or whatever, and they made this game based on that label? Like, would you be okay with that too, for example? Or would your first reaction be something like, oh, that's like a marketing gimmick, like you're taking advantage of this, etc., etc.? As well, many times when it comes to things like art and entertainment, that's kind of like, I guess, your job and goal is to spark that conversation, to give people perspectives, to make them think, what, like that's how it is, or I've never seen it that way before. That's ultimately the goal in many cases when it comes to mediums and formats like this, if you have like some kind of story to tell. But yeah, it makes you wonder what will happen in this situation. How does a regular person think about content like this, for example, too? Alright, see you guys later.